talk to me about your on-ramp into ministry, into this calling with Exodus Cry. What was it that, for you personally, that just goes, man, I'm dedicating the rest of my life to this?
Well, I had gone, so for me, it goes way back. I grew up in an unstable home situation, and so I really gravitated towards the arts as my escape, and in a sense, my therapy. And so from really, it was middle school when the arts became a serious part of my life, and then all the way through high school, and then I had a scholarship to the Art Institute of Southern California, but I ended up opting to go to do film classes at Saddleback instead. Did that for a couple years, and then I ended up opening actually a martial arts studio. I needed to pay the bills, and I wasn't seeing how film was going to do that at that time, and so, but yeah, later. Felt really, really called into just serving God and serving people. And so it was when I found out about the issue of human trafficking in 2007, early 2007. Actually, what's the date today?
Today's February 3rd.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow, that is... My mind is just like doing a slow motion explosion. It was February 3rd.
No way.
2007. When I first found out about this issue of human trafficking.
Wow. And here you are.
Wow, that just blew my mind. And here
That's
we
awesome.
are. Wow, that is so crazy.
13 years later.
Yeah, to the day.
Wow.
So yeah, it was February 3rd, 2007 when we first found out about this. And that was what really brought everything together for me. I was 30 years old, and it was like my passion for the arts and my passion for God and my passion for humanity were all married in this one thing of going out and telling the story of what was happening to people who are being exploited around the world. So, cool side story to this date. It was February 3rd, 2007. My wife and I, we went and visited our friends in the hospital who just had a baby. We were just congratulating them. We were on our date day. This was on a Saturday. And so it was our friend Julie who began to share with us about this thing of human trafficking. And, we had never heard the term human trafficking. I thought, is this like bad gridlock on the freeway, or like what exactly are we talking about here? She's like, no, like millions of people that are being forced into a lifestyle of essentially systematic rape. And it was just beyond anything that you could wrap your mind around in one conversation. And so, but it was that moment where our hearts were pierced with this issue. And little did we know at that time that this would grow, that burden would grow into something that we would give our entire lives to. But years later, I went and I was speaking up at Bethel in Northern California, a large charismatic church up there. And we were doing some meetings that morning with some of their leaders up there. And there was a human trafficking survivor who I had become friends with that was present. And it was her birthday. And so I said to her, happy birthday. And she said back to me, she retorted back, she said, happy birthday to you. And I said, happy birthday to me? Like, what do you mean? And she said, no, it's your birthday too. I go, no, mine's in November. She goes, no. She goes, today was the first day that you found out about human trafficking, whatever, X number of years ago. And I was like, wait a minute. I go, it's February 3rd? And she's like, yeah. She goes, you know how I know that? And I said, no. She goes, I always remembered it because I heard you tell it in a message once that you first heard about human trafficking on February 3rd, 2007. She goes, I always remembered it. She goes, because on February 3rd, 2007, I was in jail because I wouldn't testify against my trafficker because I was afraid he would kill my son. And she goes, and I got on my knees that day and I prayed, God, will you raise up somebody who will expose this injustice?
Whoa.
I was just like, what? So she's there in jail, human trafficking survivor, praying, God, raise somebody up who will expose this injustice. February 3rd, same day, we go out, have this conversation that snowballs into, Exodus Cry and all of our efforts to address trafficking, expose this injustice. And so this date is just very particularly significant. And yeah, that's just strange that we did not organize this. But man, sometimes you just see the fingerprint of God and his providence over the narrative, when we say yes and we just start following.
Yeah.
So
that seems to be, well, first of all, I have goosebumps. What an incredible story. And yeah, there's some seems to be something just so pure about just saying yes to Jesus. As I sit and, talk to so many people who are doing just wonderfully radical things, there's that common denominator. It's like, yeah, I just said yes, and I think that's a message that so many people need to hear, when God gets a hold of your heart, just say yes. And who knows what's going to happen? Maybe you'll run a ministry and make documentaries, maybe, who knows? But it's just such a wonderful thing to just say yes. I see that in the Clapham sect. Wilberforce said yes. And I just see a lot of power in that. But
it takes a lot of the pressure off of it.
Yeah.
And so if we can just give up our conceptions of what we think it looks like to be a Christian based on whatever subculture we've been raised in, and just posture ourselves with the simplicity of the yes, it's so freeing.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to keep going back here, but that was Wilberforce's story of hey, I thought this is what it meant to be a Christian. And he really wrestled with that. Doesn't it mean that it should look like this? And he had to go take that to John Newton and say, I don't know whether to respond to the call of God or to pursue this injustice, going after this injustice. And John Newton's like, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That is the call of God.
That's right. That's right.
And but it takes all that pressure out of it. That year, the thing just snowballed. It grew. We started studying and praying into this, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew until that fall, we felt like we have got to do something to put feet to our prayers. And right around that time, this lady approached us who was a widow, and she said, hey, I know you don't know me, but God has told me to give you $10,000 to start an organization to fight human trafficking. And that was the seed money that catalyzed us starting Exodus Cry and going on what would be this 4-year journey around the world, documenting the global crisis of sex trafficking, and that the fruit of that being embodied in the film Nefarious Merchant of Souls, which is now available for free on YouTube for anybody that would like to see that. It's on our Exodus Cry YouTube channel.
It came up on my main page the other day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Come on.
I was like, yes, woo. Way to go. Way to go.
Awesome.